But the months from July to August, now that's the most intense window. Now this is the time we call Karkidaka Masam. Now the same season that can make a person prone to vulnerability and infectious disease also brings a more comfortable temperature for Panchakarma and other purification therapies. What is the hardest month of the year where you live? And what are you doing in the months before to prepare your body? Now that is what is Ritucharya. Have you ever wondered what different parts of the world do during the worst months of the year? Now, I'm talking about the hard months, when the body really struggles with the climate. Now, most cultures, they have a collective way of preparing for the seasonal change that's coming. So, in Ayurveda, we call this as Ritucharya. The word Ritu means season and Charya means regimen. The principle is simple. Like before every season change, you prepare your body for what's coming. Now, let's take Europe for an example. Like in the northern European countries, December to February is one of the most challenging windows. Like the temperature can drop to single digits, sometimes even sub-zero. Now there is very little sunlight and the body fights to stay warm. And the public health data also shows that this is when people are prone to fall sick. They have like respiratory infections, depression rates go up, and even people with autoimmune conditions, they say this is the time when the flare-up happens. Like that's why this is also the time we have the term winter blues. So how do these cultures adapt? So before winter arrives, people prepare. Like for example, you have a car, you put on the winter tires. For the home, you service the heating, you stock the pantry, and the food changes. They tend to start cooking slow, with more fat, and the food itself becomes heavier. And life in general slows down because the nights are longer, so people spend more time indoors, more time with their family and friends. And many even have a habit of going to the sauna to keep themselves warm and to sweat. And on the other hand, the winter carnivals open up, the Christmas markets begin. Like that's how the culture pulls people together through some of the worst weeks of the year. Like it's a very hard time for people to struggle that extreme cold. Now the point is, the culture isn't just stuck in the bad months, it's adapting. So the community, what they can do is they come together and in a good way they thrive. Now this is what Ritucharya is. Ritucharya is exactly this idea but extended to the body. Like you adjust the food, the routine, the sleep before the season arrives. So when the season arrives, your body is not fighting, it's really prepared. Now let's come to Kerala and see what Kerala did. Now if you look at Kerala, I must say Kerala doesn't have such extreme weather. Kerala is quite blessed. Now some people say this is the place where the rains were invented. And one of the most challenging months in Kerala is actually the monsoon period. It begins in the early June and goes on till mid-September. But the months from July to August, now that's the most intense window. Now this is the time we call Karkidaka Masam. Now some people pronounce it as Karkidaka. Now here's the curious part. In fact, I've seen many writers, they have captured how beautiful Kerala is during the monsoon. Now if you take the book by Arundhati Roy, her book The God of Small Things, or the book by Abraham Verghese, it's one of the best-selling book, it's called The Covenants of Water. Now people love to travel to Kerala just for the monsoon. It's a season people travel for, not just like travel through and escape. No, just like a lot of people, they love to travel to Switzerland for the winter times, even though the winter in Switzerland is one of the harshest seasons there. So similar way, they try to come to Kerala. So let's start with the word. What does the word Karkidaka actually mean? In Sanskrit, the animal crab is called Karkidaka. The Greeks call it Karkinos, and in Latin, it became Cancer, which is why the zodiac sign Cancer falling in this exact time of the year is also called after the crab. And there is one traditional way of understanding why this time is named after a crab, even if we can't prove it with historical certainty. Now, if you look at the behavior of a crab, it never moves in a straight line. It always moves sidewards, and unexpectedly, it can just reverse the direction. Now, we do know astronomically that during the period of the summer solstice, the sun reaches its northernmost point where it pauses and then it begins moving south again. So if you look at the line on the world map, which we call the Tropic of Cancer, and in Indian astronomy we call it Karkidaka. This is the line of the crab, like where the sun reaches its northernmost position and where it changes direction and reverses. So what is happening? The sun is reversing its direction just like the behavior of a crab. Now this is one of the possible reasons why Karkidaka Masam marks the moment in the solar year when the sun's forward motion takes a pause and reverses. And that's exactly why the tradition built around this month in Kerala exists. So in Karkidaka Masa, what is happening? It is a time when you don't start anything new in Kerala. Like you don't begin new ventures, you don't make any big decisions, you naturally turn inward. Like I know people, they don't move into a new house, they don't get married, they don't sign any new contract. So this is a time when they reflect on yourself and work on your health. Now if you see the entire cultural tradition mirrors what the sun itself is doing. Now, this is an old story passed down through generations. But let's also look at why such a tradition evolved in the first place. Now, centuries ago, there were Vaidyas, the classical Ayurvedic physicians in every community. And what they observed was that the monsoon was a time when people were prone to fall sick, like infectious diseases were common and the humidity was quite high. Now, there is even people who come and say that when they come to Kerala during the peak monsoon, it's like you are breathing water. And we see a lot of modern research which shows that humidity can actually influence the appetite, the gut microbiome, and the metabolic markers in a person. So, in Ayurvedic terms, we call this the Agni. It is the intelligence that transforms food into energy. Now, this Agni tends to become weak in a person during this particular season, which is called Varsha Ritu or the monsoon period. Now, this means the body's overall energy can get compromised, which also means the immune system can be compromised. And when your energy is low and your immune system is a little more vulnerable, your mental health, your thinking power, and your decision making can also be impacted. Which is why, as I explained earlier, why they say, if possible, try to delay all your big decisions about starting anything new. This is a time to look inward, and if you have any really big project, try to do it after this season. That's why they say the month after this, which we call it as Masam, the first month of the Malayalam New Year calendar, is considered very auspicious to start new things. Like people plan marriages then, they start new ventures, move into a new home together. And in fact, the celebration called Onam, it is the biggest festival in Kerala, that falls under Chingam right after this Karkidaka Masa. So after the difficulty of Karkidakam, Chingam is the harvest season, like the new beginning. Now let us look at another interesting paradox about this monsoon time, which we call it as Karkidaka Masa. Now the same season that can make a person prone to vulnerability and infectious disease also brings a more comfortable temperature for Panchakarma and other purification therapies. This is one of the reasons why people across Kerala, both at home and at many Ayurvedic clinics, follow a specific protocol of treatment during these weeks. Now, this whole protocol is what we call Karkidaka Chikitsa. The word Chikitsa in Sanskrit means treatment, or more precisely, a healing protocol. So, Karkidaka Chikitsa literally means the treatment protocol during the month of Karkidaka Masa. Now, this is what we will be talking about for the rest of this episode. Now, if you take the temperature of Kerala during peak monsoon, it sits somewhere between 22 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius. Now that's a very narrow range with no extreme heat or extreme cold. Now the temperature stays remarkably stable for almost 2 to 3 months. Now there is a concept in modern physiology and it's called thermoneutral zone. Now it's a temperature range within which the body doesn't have to spend extra energy heating or cooling itself. The exact range varies between studies. Some places sit between 15 and 25 degrees, others closer to 23 and 27 degrees Celsius for a lightly clothed adult. And of course, the humidity also changes how comfortable you feel at any given temperature. But the larger point is this: the Kerala monsoon comes much closer to a comfortable treatment window than the peak summer monsoon. For example, in peak summer, when the temperature climbs very high, the body has to work hard to cool itself. But on the other hand, in the monsoon at 22 to 28 degrees, the body has a lot of spare energy that it can save. Now think of it like this. See, your body has a finite energy budget every day. And in peak summer, a big chunk of that budget goes to keeping you cool. Like in monsoon, when the temperature is gentler, the energy is freed up and the body can use it for other tasks like deeper work, treatment, protocols. And so when we do these Ayurvedic treatments like Abhyanga, which is a full body warm oil therapy, or Svedana, which is medicated steam or pirichal, where warm oil is poured continuously over the body can receive those treatments more easily. And the body doesn't have to invest as much extra energy to fight the external climate. Now, this is the physiology behind something the Vaidyas and the communities of Kerala have been practicing for centuries. They observed for generations that monsoon was the season when these therapies were better tolerated. The body was more ready, the climate was more cooperative. And that's how the concept of Karkidaka Chikitsa evolved in the first place. Now let's look at what Karkidaka Chikitsa actually involves. Now there are two parallel traditions and both do matter. There's the household tradition, what was done in traditional Kerala homes for centuries, and there's the clinical tradition. Now this is what happens when you go to an Ayurvedic clinic, because many people also go to these therapies during this time. So let's start with the household tradition, because the centerpiece of it is something I want you to understand properly. It's called Karkidaka Kanji. Now the word Kanji means porridge. Now some people also call it Aushada Kanji. I don't know if the word Konji, like in Japanese culture, it also has an origin from the word Kanji, which means actually a porridge preparation with rice. And the Aushada, which means something which is healing or medicinal in nature. So some people call it Aushada Kanji, some people call it Karkidaka Kanji. Now this is not a recipe in the modern sense. It's a formulation designed by the Vaidyas and the communities together, which got refined over generations. Now let me walk you through the logic of why the formulation is this particular way and how people consume it. Now the base of this porridge is Navara rice. It's a special red rice grown in Kerala, known classically for its therapeutic properties. We use this Navara type of rice a lot in our Panchakarma treatments today. Now if you look at the research articles published on Navara rice, it contains significantly higher levels of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds compared to the ordinary rice varieties. It's also been studied for its favorable, steadier impact on blood sugar regulation because it has a much lower glycemic index compared to the standard white rice. So this is not just a rice with a story behind it. It's like a rice with proper, like a measurable medicinal properties. Now the Navara is cooked into a porridge along with digestive spices we all use in our home cooking, like cumin seeds, fenugreek, dry ginger, black pepper. Now these are well known for, it helps to aid your digestion. Now then comes the medicinal layer. Now the porridge incorporates a group of herbs called Dasamoola. Now the word Dasha means 10 and Moola means roots. So Dasamoola, the 10 roots. Now this is one of the most respected classical formulations in Ayurveda. It's known for two things specifically. Now let's talk about the first part. It helps to reduce the excess mucus that the body tends to accumulate in the season. Like during the monsoon period, because of the high humidity where I said, you breathe in water, many people develop what we call as kapha rogas. It's like mucus related problems, congestion in the respiratory tract, sinus issues, and people say that their noses has a tendency to get blocked or they have running nose. So whenever somebody comes to us for an Ayurvedic consultation with a blocked nose or excess mucus, we usually give them a decoction, or we call it as Kvata, that has Dasamoola in it, like Dasamoola Kashayam. Now it has a documented mucolytic action, meaning it helps to clear out the excess mucus. And then there's modern research backing this up. A published preclinical studies have shown that Dasamoola has documented anti-inflammatory and analgesic properties. And if you look at the second layer of what Dasamoola can do, Dasamoola has a calming effect on the whole body. It's known to bring down the aggravated Vata, which is exactly what increases during the monsoon time. So you're getting two layers of benefit in one formulation. So alongside the Dasamoola, the porridge also includes another classical group called Dasapushpam. Traditionally, we call it as the 10 sacred plants of Kerala. Now these are specific plants that emerge in Kerala during the monsoon itself. Now some of them could be in your backyard, and we call this as Mukkutti or Cherula or Karuga and the Malayalam names, and there are a few others as well. Now here is the logic behind why this combination is chosen for the season. Now during monsoon, you're naturally exposed to more microbes. Like the high humidity tends to create mold, it accelerates the fungal growth, and standing water, it tends to become like a breeding ground. And the food tends to spoil faster. You will often see fungus growing on food that would have been fine in any other season. So you are more vulnerable to infections from everything around you, like from what you eat, what you touch, and what you breathe, if you're not taking good care. And that's why in some homes they have a dehumidifier to reduce the excess humidity. Now these Dasapushpa plants which I was talking about have been studied scientifically, and the published reviews describe these plants are having a range of properties, and they include antimicrobial in nature, antifungal in nature, anti-inflammatory, and they are immunomodulatory, meaning they help to regulate your immune system. Now these are the benefits of Dasapushpa that we have to understand. Now this doesn't mean like Karkidaka Kanji is a clinical treatment for infectious disease. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it does mean the herbs in the porridge carry bioactive compounds that line up for what this particular season demands. And then finally, we add coconut milk and a bit of jaggery. It's just for the flavor and to make it more palatable, and it is definitely nourishing in nature. So if you look at the whole thing, what is this porridge doing? It's easy to digest, which matters, of course, because many people say when it is very herbal in nature, it may not be easy to digest, but it is quite easy to digest. And it carries herbs that are antimicrobial in nature with immune supporting and anti-inflammatory properties. And this is done at a time when the body is under environmental stress. So in general, it helps to soothe the respiratory channels, it calms the whole body, it supports the joints, which is exactly where the monsoon tends to create inflammatory flare-ups. So it's food that can heal you and nourish you at the same time. So, Ayurveda emerged from how human beings observed and engaged with their ecosystem. And that is how a complete medical science was built around it. It's purely through that observation and understanding how that correlation works, and that is how this medical system has evolved. Now, what is the duration for taking this Aushadha Kanji or Karkidaka Kanji? Now, the tradition suggestion is to take this porridge once a day, usually as the morning meal or sometimes as dinner. Now, most people take it for a minimum of 7 days or even 14, or it can go up to 21 days. It depends on the individual. Now, during this period, the rest of the diet also becomes lighter. Now, some people approach it almost like a pilgrimage, the way you might give up certain things before going on a spiritual journey. Like they tend to give up alcohol or heavy food, oily and spicy food. Now, think of it this way. When you know the weather is poor and you have to drive your car, and you tend to drive more carefully because you don't have the luxury to drive fast during this bad weather because the roads could be slippery, you don't have a clear vision, and you take care of yourself accordingly. Now, the same way you take care of your body when the conditions outside are vulnerable. So you cannot call this as a cleanse or like a fast. It's just taking better care of your body when things are vulnerable externally. Now, this is what the household tradition of Karkidaka Kanji is known for, and it's been refined over generations. Now, let's look at what the clinical tradition adds, because the clinical version goes much deeper. When someone comes to an Ayurvedic clinic during the Karkidaka Masa, the work is structured very differently from a home routine. The diet is completely supervised by the physicians and the entire team at the clinic. And the day is so structured where sleep is protected, the treatments are done on a daily basis. Sometimes we even do up to twice a day because the body has the resilience to do, because the temperature is not so hot or not too cold. And depending on the severity of the patient's conditions, we customize it. Now, one thing I should say here, the months from June to end of August are some of the most active months for Ayurvedic clinics across Kerala. Because I know this because at Sitaram, we run at full capacity during these months, and not just in the clinic but also in the pharmacy. And we see a lot of patients with arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, some even come with ankylosing spondylitis, and we see patients with a lot of stress-related body pain. And we also see patients with autoimmune conditions like psoriasis and multiple other chronic inflammatory conditions. Many of these patients prefer to come during this particular period because of the weather, because the body is much more comfortable handling intensive treatments during this time. Now, this is the window when the body can do deep work without feeling overwhelmed by the weather. Now, what are the treatments done during this time? You see, in Ayurveda, we broadly classify treatments into two types. One is the Shamana type, which is pacifying, and the Shodhana, which is the intensive purificational cleansing, like what Panchakarma is. So both are done during this season, and depending on the patient, we customize it. Of course, please do consult with a licensed Ayurvedic physician, because only the physician will be able to personalize this protocol for your specific condition. So what about people who are not from Kerala but live in different parts of the world? Is any of this relevant to them? Now, here's what I have observed in my practice. On one side, I see a lot of patients who are originally from Kerala but living abroad, maybe in the Gulf countries or different parts of the world. They have a habit of coming back during this monsoon period because it's like a habitual tradition, something they saw their parents or their grandparents followed. So they do this Karkidaka Chikitsa during these months, and they tell me that after 1 or 2 weeks of treatment, they feel much better for the rest of the year. Now, because the doctor bills are lower, the sick leave becomes significantly reduced, they become more productive. Now, they get more things done because the body is in much better shape, because when your body is in good health, your mind is also very active. But on the other side, we also see a lot of patients who have no connection to Kerala at all. They could be from Delhi, Dubai, or Singapore, Hong Kong, or even from parts of Europe. They come because they have experienced that the body undergoes intensive therapies more easily during the monsoon. Now, this does not mean that everyone should come during monsoon for Ayurveda. So I've seen patients who love the rain, and it's very individualistic in nature, and it also depends on your health goals. And the best thing to do is to have a conversation with your physician before you come, so you can decide what's right for you. So whichever part of the world you live in, the key takeaway from what I've spoken about today is this: what is the hardest month of the year where you live, and what are you doing in the months before to prepare your body? Now, that is what is Ritucharya, the same idea that I introduced in the beginning. Whether you're in Kerala or anywhere else, the principle is the same. Prepare for your hardest season before it arrives. Now, if you live in the Gulf countries, the hardest month could be August. So the June and July are your preparation window. So you tend to eat lighter food, you take more rest, more hydration, and fewer late nights, and more attention to your digestion. Like if you live in Europe, the hardest months are from December to February. So October and November are your preparation window. Now, the principle is applicable wherever you live, but you have to customize it according to your geography and your climate. Now, the second takeaway is more specific. If you live anywhere in the world where there is a real monsoon, for example, like coastal India, parts of Southeast Asia, or parts of Africa, this concept of Karkidaka Chikitsa, even in a light household version, can be genuinely relevant to you. Now, you can make a simplified version of this porridge, Navara rice if you can find it, or ordinary red rice if you cannot. Now, add the spices which will help your digestion, and whatever monsoon herbs are available in your region. I'm sure there is a local tradition around your area that uses these local sources. So you can eat lighter during these weeks, sleep earlier, avoid heavy and oily food, and avoid the kind of food that tastes good while you are eating but leaves you feeling heavy and sick later. So pay attention to your joints, your digestion, and your respiratory system. And now that we have the technology, you can even consult with an Ayurvedic physician online, and they can help you customize this for your specific condition. Now, for those of you who genuinely want to experience Ayurveda more deeply, this period is actually considered one of the best times to take a 2 or 3 week break to undergo a proper Ayurvedic retreat, or like what we say, the Panchakarma program. So if you're interested, you can explore the work we do at Sitaram. I'll leave the details in the show notes. And I would highly recommend speaking with a physician before making any decisions, so you can understand what is actually suitable for your body and your health goals. And one more thing, if you want a written summary of what I have talked about today and more about the Karkidaka Chikitsa and the Karkidaka Kanji, the herbs, the protocol, and how to do it at home, please sign up for our newsletter. I'll send you a proper write-up. The link is also in the show notes. So if you enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Now share something from the episode that resonated with you, and if you know someone who could use this, please do share it with them. This is Dr. Vignesh Devraj. Thank you for listening to Ayurvedic Healing and Beyond, and I will see you in the next episode.